Have you ever wondered what's really going on inside an examiner's head when they're marking your exam paper? What's that secret sauce that turns a good answer into a great one? Well, today we're going to crack that code. And really, it all boils down to this one question. See, it's not enough to just know your stuff. You've got to know how to serve it up in the exact way the examiner is looking for, the way the mark scheme demands. So, to show you how this works, we're going to get our hands dirty. We're diving deep into one specific high-stakes question from a real AQA GCSE Biology paper. And we're not just guessing here. We're using the official mark scheme as our treasure map to find out exactly what gets you those top marks. All right, here's the game plan. We'll decode the main question, then we'll tackle the negative feedback puzzle, the deal with thyroxine and body heat, and then ADH and water control. Finally, we'll put it all together to master the mark scheme. Let's do this. Okay, first up, decoding the exam question. We're zoning in on question 5, a hefty 9-mark challenge. This question is all about homeostasis, right? That whole process of keeping your body's internal environment stable. And listen, this topic is pretty much guaranteed to pop up on your exam. So nailing these 9 marks, it's a huge deal. And the one word you need to remember through all of this is precision. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty with the first part of the question, the negative feedback puzzle. So, the exam gives you this diagram and asks you to explain what's happening with negative feedback. It's worth 3 marks. Take a good look. You've got these 2 loops, right? One for when substance Q is too high, and another for when it's too low. Seriously, this is a classic setup. You're going to see this kind of thing all the time. So, how you bag those 3 marks? Well, here it is, the perfect answer, word for word from the mark scheme. First, you say that if substance Q is too high, hormone A is released. Simple enough. Second, you say if substance Q gets too low, hormone B is released. And for the final point, you just wrap it up. These hormones bring the concentration of substance Q right back to that ideal, normal level. Boom, 3 marks. But wait, here's where we get our first peek behind the curtain. The mark scheme has this awesome allow list. It's basically telling you that there's some flexibility. If you looked at that diagram and thought, hey, that looks like blood sugar control, you're in luck. You could have called hormone A insulin, hormone B glucagon, and substance Q blood glucose concentration, and you'd still get full credit. Knowing these little loopholes, that's how you crack the code. Okay, moving on to the next piece of the puzzle, thyroidin and body heat. This next bit is worth 2 marks. The question is, how does producing thyroxine actually increase your body temperature? You see, it's a 2-step process they're looking for. It's not enough to just say it makes you warmer. You've got to explain the how. All right, your first mark comes from knowing this term, basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Basically, it's how fast the chemical reactions in your body are chugging along when you're just chilling. Thyroxine cranks that rate up. That's point number 1. Now for the second mark. And honestly, this all comes down to one single word. When your metabolic rate goes up, so does respiration. And what does respiration do? It releases energy. Now listen very carefully here. The mark scheme is super picky about this. It specifically says you cannot say energy is produced, made, or created. Why? Because you can't create energy out of thin air. It's transferred. So you have to use the word releases. It's a deal breaker for getting that point. All right, let's tackle the final part of this question, the big one, the 4-marker on ADH and water control. This is where they throw everything at you, your knowledge of the hormone ADH, plus your ability to read and understand data from a table. Let's get into it. So take a look at the data. The question is all about what happens when the ADH concentration drops from 3.75 down to 1.25. And the table shows us 2 things pretty clearly, right? The urine gets way less concentrated, and the rate of urine production just explodes, going from 1.8 all the way up to 8.8. The big question for 4 marks is why? To nail all 4 marks here, you have to build this perfect chain of events. Each link has to connect to the next one. So, link 1, less ADVH means the kidney tubules become less permeable to water. Link 2, because they're less permeable, less water gets reabsorbed back into the blood. Now, links 3 and 4 connect right back to that data we saw. With more water left in the urine, the rate of production goes up and the concentration goes down. See? It's a perfect 4-step story. And check this out. Here's another one of those examiner secrets. The ideal term is reabsorbed, for sure, but the mark scheme also accepts taken back into the blood. Same thing for a lower concentration. You can also say more dilute urine. Knowing these accepted alternatives is like having more tools in your toolbox. It just gives you more ways to build that perfect answer.
Okay, so we've pulled apart that whole 9-mark question. What have we learned? It's time to put together the master key we've been building this whole time.
So here it is, the examiner's code, broken down into 4 essential strategies. Number 1, use precise biological terms. Remember releases energy? That's what I'm talking about. 2, show your work. Build those logical chains, just like we did for ADH. 3, know your synonyms. Knowing that reabsorbed can also be taken back into blood is a game changer. And finally, number 4, always connect your answer back to any data they give you. You do these 4 things, that's your master key. Not just for this question, but for any question.
Look, we've just decoded the mark scheme for one single question. But here's the thing. These principles, this way of thinking, it works for any question on any paper. The code isn't a secret anymore. Now it's your tool. So the real question is, what are you going to unlock with it?